Here's a fun one that I got in. This is almost like a time warp here, time capsule. It's a Intratec TEC9. And it came with this grip attached to it, which I'm going to be removing as we speak, because that is not legal to have that on there. Basically, the way that the law reads is, if you have, I haven't checked my size yet, so I just grabbed it and opened it up, got excited about it. It's a pretty nice little thing. It's a 9mm TEC9, Intratec TEC9. But anyways, on the law on this, just in case any of you all are not familiar with this, you've probably all thought about it before. Like, say you've got a Glock 17 with a rail underneath the barrel. You know, hey, that'd be a great place to put a forward grip, right? No, that you've committed a felonious act by doing that. If you've got a barrel that is under 16 inches and you do not have a buttstock on that gun can only have one pistol grip. If you have a barrel that is over 16 inches, you can have a pistol grip no matter if you have a buttstock or not. The barrel length is your deciding factor there. Now, if you have a buttstock and a barrel that is shorter than 16 inches, it must then be registered as a short-barreled rifle. You pay $200 to the government, and your right to own that gun has now become a privilege. And you know, the SBRs, they're kind of all the craze. A lot of people are doing them. I think they're cool. But my deal on that is that, I mean, they have their place in the tactical world. But where they have their place, that means that their buddy is sporting a sapper or something with a little bit more length on its barrel, a little bit more reach out and touch you ability, and so that's when those come in handy. But just to have one around the house, I'm not going to pay $200 to have a shortened barrel on my gun. Forgive me, I've not even looked at this to see how it comes apart. I'm just running my mouth while I'm talking to you guys. And yes, I have chamber checked this multiple times. It is clear. Don't worry. Don't worry. But anyway, there. Now we're legal. Now the other thing that, whenever I first got this out of the box, I noticed something kind of strange. Of course, you know, you see it's got some rails mounted there. We'll probably see about removing that rail from there, because there's no point in having it there, because this is illegal. Now, what I did notice is it had this red dot on it, which by any account is not a high quality red dot, but nonetheless, for what we're doing here, I'm sure it works just fine. The problem was, you guys see the tape there? Well, this is a rear sight blade. It is not a Weaver rail. It's not angled like a Weaver rail or anything. Someone, I don't know if they knew that it wasn't, or if they just tried to make it, but either way, they put that tape over there to take up the slack, and this red dot sight had been squeezed over that and was mounted on there pretty much with tape. So I was able to, just by holding it without loosening anything, just go like that and it came off. So we're going to be maybe removing this rail, putting it up here, if that's what is desired. Gun's in because it'll fire a few rounds and then it will not feed or it will stop firing. And there's been reports of it burst firing, but I've not talked to anybody that it's done that to them firsthand. So there's your magazines. And what I was talking about with the time warp, you look at this literature on it. This is where you get into your time warp. I'll leave this in there. You can read that. Alright, now got a manual. Intratec firearms. It's a pretty good manual. It's talks all about weight, barrel length stuff. I mean, it gives some specifics here. Talks all about some safety stuff. I mean, they had their poop in a group on getting this manual out like this. They go in here and talk about the trajectory of a 115 grain full metal jacket. Y'all can pause that if you want to see it a little better, see it more in depth. But goes in and gives a schematic, which is nice. I wish more gun companies would do that. And then this is our time warp here, Hurricane Force. This is the category 9mm. This thing's got a patina to it. You can tell it was printed a long time ago. 1994 price list right there. Look at the double action only. I've never seen one of those little handguns there. I've seen one of those. I actually had a video of one of those. The Intratec 22. Decent little gun, nothing special. And you get over here into the 9s. They got a lot of options there. And there's their. Like I say, I've never seen one of these. See the gun? Maybe I've seen one and just didn't know what I was looking at. But either way, let's see here. Look at our 94 price list. Effective December 1st, 1993. The Cat9, that's the handgun on the front here. Double action only. Polymer frame. 9mm. $225 retail price. The Tec 22 with a threaded barrel. Retail was $161. Jeez. The Tec9 blue was $269. Let's see here. Tech coat, which I guess is that silver color, was $297, and the stainless steel was $362. Those were all 5-inch barrel models. 3-inch barrel models were $245, $277, and $339. So anyways, I thought that was neat. Interesting little piece of history, so to speak, there. So let me put this back in, and we'll get all this rearranged, and we'll start tearing it down. Intratec TEC9. See, it's threaded down in there where you can put other muzzle devices or whatever you want to on there. There we go. That's how you remove your magazine. Throw that magazine over there. No, I'm not muzzle sweeping myself. Now, This pushes in and out as a lock. So if you pushed in, you're locked. Pull it out and it will let you cycle. And this has got a very stiff spring in there. There's 2 little springs in there. And we're gonna check this sucker out and see what's going on with it. So the way that it is torn down is you've got a main spring or a main pin right here that acts as your teardown pin, and that is the pin that we are going to knock out right now. Make sure we're not chambered. Drop the hammer and let's knock out a pin. There's that pin. That's your main takedown pin. Once you have that out, you should be able to lift the front and then separate the top from the bottom. You got your sling attachment point here. You can set it off to the side. Now you've got your basic 2 distinct parts, upper and lower. Here is your lower, your trigger group. It's a very simple design. It's a striker fired, so you don't have like a normal hammer. And see, this is basically your sear right here. It's a long, flat sear. And for just being a piece of stamped, it doesn't have that bad of a trigger pull. But you got your main trigger spring there. Really just not that bad of a deal. So anyways, we're going to leave that alone for right now. We're going to get over here to our upper. Concentrate on it. And getting on your upper. You got your sling attachment point there. The back of your upper there, you're going to see that slot right there. Your sling fits directly in there, and you're just going to twist it counterclockwise, just like you would any screw or piece of hardware. Now I don't know if we're under spring tension here. I'm going to assume that we are. Now that that's busted loose, should be able to get it out of there. All right, we are under spring tension, but not much. There's that back cap. See, before I pull any more out, we'll get you down here where you can see. Now, while that comes out, your short spring side goes down. Basically like that in there. Alright, we've got this is our bottom that you can see here, and the way that the firing pin assembly will be removed. Right here, your striker plate, I guess it would be called. Actually, they are calling that plate, your striker and your firing pin. It can be removed independently of everything else right out the back. They are 2 pieces, and they will come apart. And the way that fits is you've got actual C-notch there, and your firing pin fits directly in there. Now you've got your entire bolt carrier, and what you're going to do is you'll bring it back, and you should be able to twist that, and it's actually on a detent. Let me get it to focus in. There we go. Got a detent ball in there. That will allow your entire carrier to come out. Now, your extractor right there, it's held in with an Allen key. That Allen keys guy, man, he always shows up. Allen keys. Every time I turn around, talking about Allen keys. Anybody out there ever met Allen Keys? I'd like to meet him. Alrighty. Let's see what our sizes are. We'll go a little bit bigger. Loctite on there. You can see how it's kind of got the red flakes around it. It's all things that are good to note. I would have run Loctite on it anyways, but especially whenever you take a piece of hardware out that has got Loctite on it, make sure to note that so you can put it back on there whenever you take it apart. Something that I knew from looking at our schematic, that there wasn't a detent ball and spring or anything underneath there, but whenever you take stuff like that out, make sure that you're careful to, as you get to the end of your threads, you got it contained, because if there's a spring and a detent ball or whatever back there, first of all, you can put your eye out. Second of all, you can lose it. And so it's just always a good thing to be a little bit extra cautious. Now, there's our extractor, and it will come right out the front. And you can see right there, that's where that Allen screw was pushing on there. And it looks like the shape of this, see how it's kind of bent? The shape of it is what gives it its spring, and then that piece of hardware pushes right there, and you've got a leverage point down here and up here. So that's pretty ingenious little method there. That way they don't have to have a separate spring and everything. I like that. Simple. So your bolt is just a big old, it's a chunk of steel. Just plain simple. And you got basically a tube with, it's either got a trunnion and a barrel, or the barrel and trunnion are made in one. I can't quite tell. Yeah, I think that the barrel and trunnion are all made together. It's crimped in there. Not sure how well you guys can see in there, but oh well. I'm going to remove this high-class, high-speed sniper tape, and probably had to replace it with some lower grade sniper tape. I don't know that I've got any that's this high end. Might have to use some seal tape or something. Who knows? We'll remove this bottom rail. In situations like this where you've got you know that it's going to be hard to get to the back of that, what I'll do is go ahead and try and loosen them both up. And as long as you're pulling up, or putting pressure against that backing, you can usually loosen stuff without having the hardware back there spin. But you got to keep upward pressure to keep them from spinning. And this is Magpul hardware. And I'll put those back in there. I'm going to leave the bottom one on, or the side one on there, because that one's just perfect for if someone wanted to put a light or something like that. That's completely practical and completely legal. Legal, not illegal. So anyways, I'm going to put these on, and we'll get to the trigger and the bottom lower. Go ahead and make sure to show you guys. On this rear plate, your springs go to the corresponding length of rod, and then this is a rubber buffer on a steel end plate there. And these pins, let's see, or actually no, it's all rubber, or it's all plastic. And these pins do come out. Alright, in order to get your hammer pin out, you got 3 pins here. You've got your magazine, your hammer, and the trigger. In order to get the hammer pin out, you're going to need to bias this pin to the left-hand side a little bit. Or actually, I'm sorry, bias the pin to the right-hand side a little bit. And if you look down in here, there is an E-clip. Right there is an E-clip. And that clip must be removed. Make sure we get it in there. I'm going underneath there. Now these clips will go flying. So I gotta grab my glasses. And as promised, it went flying, but I saw where it went. So that is your clip there. And that clip holds the hammer pin in from the inside. Now once that is out of there, you can take your hammer pin clean on out. Need a longer punch. There's our hammer pin, and you see it's got the groove there. That's for the E-clip to go on, and that goes on the left-hand side. Got our hammer spring here that is coiled up, and it does have some tension on it. And it'll just come straight up and out of there. That hammer spring just fits down. Well, we'll get some focus here in a minute. That hammer spring just fits right down in there on the frame. Very straightforward and simple. Now you've got your sear, and the sear is held in with your trigger pin. Alright, for our trigger pin. Oh, there we go. We'll go from the left side to the right side. Take a little pop to get it started. Now, you've got some spring tension on that. Pull my punch out. Actually, I guess I should have used just a little bit longer punch. Not a big problem though. What I'm trying to do is feed this other punch in that's a little bit longer. It's not going to go in. We'll be fine. Trying to keep this all together so I can show you as it comes out what it looks like in as a unit. So bear with me. Well, let's get a pointed one. There we go. Okay, now, got our pin pushed through finally. This pin doesn't really have a left or a right. Alright, there's our trigger spring. Tough little booger. Here's our sear. And the trigger. And if you didn't see how that all comes out of there, don't worry. In my reassembly video, I will explain it all. How everything comes together. Now if you needed to get this apart, I'm not going to take this apart, but you just punch that pin out and that would come apart. This just is going to slip off of there. If you wanted to clean up your trigger pull, this area of the sear is what you would clean up. I didn't say, make sure if you ever do anything like that, don't change the angles. Take that back on the trigger, this is not tight in there at all, so we're just going to push that straight out. And that'll come out. That was in the forward hole. And you see how that piece is on there, and then our spring. Now for the magazine release. Magazine release is very simple. It is spring loaded. Does not have an E-clip on it. And our spring tension is pushing us. There we go. This pin has no left or right. Our pin is in there right now, or our punch is holding it in. So I'm going to put my thumb there and pull that punch out. Actually, I'm going to put my finger right there. Alright. Now this entire unit should come up and out. You've got three pieces here. You've got the spring, your lever, and then this right here is your actual ejector, your cartridge ejector. And then you've got your lower. So that is a full teardown, except for removing your guide pins, which they're loose. We're just going to leave them right there. And that does not include removing the barrel and front trunnion. And of course, we're not going to remove the sides; they're spot welded on. Now, depending on what happens here, I will most likely be mounting that lower Magpul rail section right up here. So we'll see how it all pans out. Pans out. And in the meantime, I'm going to put all this stuff in the ultrasonic cleaner. And I'm not going to put this in there. I can clean this out by hand. But I'm going to put it in the ultrasonic cleaner and get it cleaned up, and then I'll inspect it. This is where foaming bore cleaner really is a nice thing. Got it down the bore, but then I was able to take it, because it foams and expands, and get all inside of there to where it'll do some real good cleaning action on it. I'm going to set this somewhere where it won't hurt it to get leaked on. Just disassembled this magazine, which these magazines weren't really made to be disassembled. The way that you have to do it is this front tab has to be bent out a little bit, and then you can slide this whole floor plate forward, and that allows you to get those tangs out of the back ones. And then, now remember, when you do this, that magazine spring, that's a long magazine spring, and so it's got a good bit of juice behind it. Get that out of there. This is the floor plate. This is the plate that you see whenever you look in there. And then here's your follower. All in all, it's very, very nice and smooth in there. Good finish on the inside of that magazine. Anyways, I'm going to clean all that stuff up too. Had feed problems. I'm going to clean this one and not clean this one and see if this one gives us problems and this one doesn't. I purposely chose the larger one because typically if there's going to be a magazine that doesn't do well, it'll be the higher capacity of your choices. So we'll clean it up and go from there.